right, we are back for another week of Paisley Burger Betting, PB Betting College Football Podcast. Per usual, this is our midweek preview episode. We do 2 episodes a week. We'll preview it here before the week, and then we'll have a Sunday night recap per usual for everyone to listen to. As always, we appreciate all the listeners out there, whether it be on X or YouTube or Spotify, as we're getting this podcast rolling here through year number 2, Paisley. This is now our 20th episode of the season, and we've had a ton of shows. I think this is like our 40th show dating back to last year, 39th show. So here we are already, week 10. Hoping to have a great week.
Yeah, crazy to think about that case. If you've been here since episode 1, we appreciate it. The loyal fans out there, but yeah, like you said, looking to continue to grow. So if you know people that like college football, still a lot of time left in the season. Send the links, send whatever you have to, send the betting cards we put out Friday afternoons. But we're looking to finish strong here. We're still having fun with it. Looking to have a nice little breakthrough week here. And I think we got some good picks we could align on here.
Yeah. We'll dive right into our previews. Towards the end of the episode, we'll have our picks, just some preliminary picks like we do per usual. And then, of course, at the end, we have the great underdog parlay of the week, which is very, very exciting little thing that we do every episode. So can't wait for that. But Paisley, might as well dive, I guess, right into it. I didn't even want to discuss this game, but I guess we will just for a few minutes. Supposed to be a big game in preseason. This week, actually, there was a ton of games around the country that they said were going to be big that really just aren't that big this week. But Penn State going on the road to Ohio State, number 1 in the country. Ohio State is a 20.5-point favorite in this game. Penn State's they're getting the most points in over 10 years here. They haven't been this much of an underdog since 2013. At Wisconsin, they were getting the same 20.5. And believe it or not, Paisley, they won that game. Penn State won that game outright last time they're getting this many points. We all know the storylines here. We don't need to dive into it. Penn State fired Franklin after 12 years, a lot going on with their roster. There's certainly some talent around the ball on each side. Ohio State, on the other hand, has looked unstoppable through the early parts of the season. I don't know what to expect in this one. It's really just I could go either way. My initial gut here, Paisley, that is a lot of points. Like, just being totally non-biased here, that's a lot of points. And Penn State does still have some talent on each side of the ball. It just depends if they are going to try to put it together. Of course, Drew Allar's not even playing. He's hurt out for the season. So they have Ethan Grunkmeyer, kid from Ohio, backup quarterback that's starting. So I don't know what to expect. I think they are going to have a lot of trouble scoring in this game. It's just if their defense can come to life. I don't know if it will. It's looked pretty bad at times this season, but then again, they do have some, talented guys and some still seniors and guys that are playing despite the circumstances. So maybe I'll be shocked and they'll put out a good, product on the field. I don't really see it as my gut. Interested to hear what your thoughts are as a third party in this situation. My initial pick, though, would be Penn State with all the points in the world, but I could see this also getting out of hand. I really don't know.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating game. We'll talk about this in the Texas game, obviously losing a little luster with how bad their seasons are going, but Texas looking to rebound a little bit. But yeah, Penn State. Do you want to guess what this line was, Case, in the summer? This blew me away.
I'm gonna say Ohio State -2.
It was Ohio State -3.5. Yeah, like probably 2, 3 around that number. 17-point adjustment, which is pretty, granted as how we saw Penn State looking, but a decent showing against Iowa. Definitely was their first game without Franklin. On the road, taking that us against the world mentality there. Looked okay. Definitely the offense kind of struggled a little bit, leaned on the run game. But they also got run on a little bit against Iowa. So I'm leaning the Ohio State side. I did bet it already at under 21.5. I thought it would go up a little bit, but it kind of stayed put. It really hasn't got up to that 21.5 and then come back down. So, maybe the line or Vegas is showing you a little bit here that they want some more Penn State money coming in, or, they do feel like they have a strong side with that. So, like you said, the talent is the only thing. That's why it's not like a best bet for me or nothing that I absolutely love in this game. And another bet I do like is the Penn State team total under 10.5. You can still find that minus 120 on DraftKings or some other sites if you shop around. I just don't see Penn State getting past 10. I think 10 is probably their ceiling here. They went up against decent Iowa defense, but I think this is a way better defense they're going to face in Ohio State on the road now. I just don't see Ohio State giving up a lot of points. I think Penn State will maybe score a touchdown. Maybe that's all you need to cover too, because Ohio State does move very slow. They're not really a great team to lay a lot of points with, but they just play so sharp on defense that they really hold teams down. So you might only need 21, 24 points to cover this number, honestly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting game. The total is 43.5, so it's very low. So usually if the total that low, if you like the under, maybe you like the underdog. If you like the over, maybe the favorite here, correlate that. But I'll probably be on – I was thinking about the under, but it's just such a terrible correlation with the Ohio State laying that many points. That's why I gravitated towards Penn State under 10.5, Ohio State minus 20.5. I just think, might have a little juice early, whatever. I think Ohio State will just wear them down. I think they'll score a couple TDs late to put it to like 28-3 and kind of really hold serve. I just think they'll, I just think there's a slow death team too. They did it with Illinois. They did it with Minnesota. They did it with some of these Wisconsin even. Like they just get out to a lead. And then once you're down 14, 21 points, you really can't score on them. And then they just touchdown after touchdown slowly in the second half there. So not one that I love, but I will be on Ohio State here, minus 20.5. But if you don't like this, if you don't like any of the sides, I do like the under if you want to play that. But if you're on a side, it's kind of hard to play a total at 43. But those are my initial thoughts. I don't know if they'll get blown out like 45-0 because their Ohio State's not that electric of an offense and, quick moving. But I could see like a weird 28-3. That's what I'm calling 28-7 type game and just end it at that.
Yeah. Also keep in mind, if there is a recipe for Ohio State to put up a good offensive showing, that their offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, is on the short list of potential candidates to be the Penn State head coach. So maybe they try to do a little bit of, razzle dazzle here and try to score some points for some, brownie points for him and Pat Kraft. I don't know. I mean, in different things you have to look at in this game. Won't spend any more time on it. I'm clearly not excited at all here. We'll see. But Penn State, Paisley, could become the first team in history to win back-to-back AP knockoff AP number 1 teams here. So keep that in mind. If they pull out the outright win, Indiana moves to number 1 next week. Do it again, could make history. So
they do have some history on the line here, yeah. Or they could lose both games 45-0.
Which would mean not, and nobody would remember. So who cares? All right, moving on. SEC now to the real slates here. A lot of these spreads are much tighter. Paisley, this one surprised me. We got number 9 Vanderbilt going on the road at Texas. Number 20 Texas, who escaped again, by the way, in an overtime game. We recapped the whole thing last week. That's back-to-back overtime wins against bottom half SEC teams for sure. They haven't looked great. Arch Manning is a question mark in this game. I saw he's in concussion protocol. I don't think any final decision's been made. But some people like myself are saying, well, maybe Matthew Caldwell here could get the offense going here. Not sure exactly what to expect. Interested in your opinion. Is Texas at home. They're scraping by. Sometimes that's all you need to do. And they got Vandy coming, who's a red hot team, just got the win over Missouri. Diego Pavio didn't look great, but a win is a win, of course, in the SEC of all things. And here they got to go on the road, kind of a tricky spot at Texas. And Texas is actually laying 2.5 here, despite Vandy looking much more impressive through these 10 weeks.
Yeah, this one I am so torn in case Vanderbilt's my team, like I've been saying. Such a weird line, tough spot for Vandy, a lot of factors at play. Now the road recap was not impressed with, especially their defense kind of kept them in that game, but Missouri's offense was also struggling too and lost Perbula halfway through the game. So a play I really do like, though, might be a lock. I do like the under in this game, 45.5. I think anything above 44 is key. I think you just mix in all the factors. Arch Manning banged up. If he plays, he might not be 100% in practice all week. If he doesn't play, like you said, go to the backup, which I agree with you. I don't think there'd be a lot of drop-off. Manning's playing a little bit better these last couple of games, but still has those stretches where they got down 17 and just really bogged down. So I think both defenses will show up here. Texas kind of got handled a little bit by Mississippi State last week, and that was a little shocking, but they're a little more pass happy. They hit you through the air a little bit more. So I don't think Vanderbilt's that kind of attack. They're a lot more slower, grinding out a couple yards on the ground, kind of like a triple option team. So I just think Texas is going to struggle a little bit depending what quarterback they play. That Codwell guy, he's been around for a while. He's been at 4 or 5 schools. I think he was at Incarnate Word and Gardner-Webb, some really smaller schools. But so he's like a solid, bona fide backup, but nothing special. So I think if whatever quarterback plays, I think Vanderbilt would be able to limit their offense. And then I think Texas defense is going to try and show out here at home. They have some weird games where they get beat up, like that Florida game, like the Mississippi State game, but then they have some other great games like the Kentucky game, the Ohio State game, the first game of the season, where they really show out because they have a lot of talent. So I'm trusting both defenses here. It is a little bit lower of a total, but I think under or over that 44.5 key number, I'll take that as a nice size play on the under. And then if I had to lean, I'm just really kind of going off the number here. If it goes down to a pick 'em, might be on Texas. I'm still trying to get some more information. But if it goes up to 3, I might be on Vandy. So I'm very lukewarm on the side here. I could really go either way. Because, like you back Texas, it's like, it's a great spot at home. I think the defense should play well. But then if you back Vandy, it's like, I think they're the hotter team right now. Obviously, they're the higher ranked team. They're probably the better team, maybe on paper, which is crazy to think. And Texas' offensive line is horrendous too. That is something that to note. So if Vanderbilt could get that pass rush going and really turn it up on them, that's what really struggled with Texas that first half against Mississippi State. So they're back at home now, a little bit better, conditions. But if Vandy really turns up that defensive pressure and is pressuring Arch or whoever's playing quarterback, I can just see being a very low scoring game, and that's what Vandy wants to play. They want to grind you out, and they want to, have some early down success to set up their 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 packages with Pavia. Didn't have his best game last game. It's another tough test against this Texas defense, so I'm really interested to watch this matchup. So I'm still uneven on the side here, Case, but total love the under in this game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Would also lean under in this one. I think it'll be low scoring and it'll be tough to score. I think Texas's defense is definitely the really good thing on their team. I think that's what they have going for them. This one's tough, but I'm gonna honestly lean Texas in this game. I think I think the line is kind of telling us something here. I think Vandy is the hotter team, and Texas has been struggling. But it's just one of those strange, early November, November 1st games where I would think Vandy wins. And if their spread was -2 or -3, I might even take Vandy, which seems crazy because it's like, well, why would you take Vandy if you're laying 2? And I think they're going to lose. But it's just one of those weird spreads where I'm just not going to be stunned here if Texas comes out and wins the game. Also, keep in mind that with the quarterback uncertainty, it is going to be a little bit more difficult for Vanderbilt to prepare this week. I mean, I know we're already midweek, so, they have to keep an account. Is it going to be Arch? Is it going to be Caldwell? They got to go on the road, which is never easy. And just like I said with Penn State, I mean, completely different teams, but they still have the talent. Texas has those talented players. I think they're more talented than Vanderbilt, and that doesn't mean everything. And, we've highlighted that week in and week out too. But in this specific spot, I like Texas. I think they're going to win the game. Like you said, that 2.5 to 3.5 could be a big difference because I don't think either team will run away with this thing. I think it's going to be a 1-possession game. So I'm not, ecstatic about it. I'm not crawling over glass to place this bet, but I lean Texas. Might be on my card Saturday. My initial thought is, and honestly, I'd actually rather, I think, Caldwell play with that Texas pick. I really would, just to see what he could do. Maybe he gives us some more juice. He doesn't have a lot of tape out there, obviously, from this season at least. Despite I think he's been in college for like 5 years, but that's another talking point. But anyway, yeah, give me Texas here. I think Vandy's gonna be a little bit overwhelmed maybe from last week, and I still think Texas might have a little bit gas left in the tank here and get one more big win this year.
Yeah, Vanderbilt looked a little bit better last week. I would have been so confident and would have, but that performance just really shook me at home. Now, I know they were coming off a big game against LSU the week before, and then obviously the Alabama game 2 weeks before that. There was a bye in between there. So the only thing that's why I'm not running the bet Vanderbilt is because of the schedule and how much juice do these guys have left. It's more a veteran team, more a senior-driven team, and they're having a nice run here. I could just see them kind of slip up here, and that's where I'm not really running to bet them. But it is kind of crazy, looking how bad Texas has looked. And a lot of people have been on Texas. I haven't been hearing a lot of people on Vanderbilt. So I'm just kind of waiting and seeing with this one. I got to get some more info. But, yeah, give me the under.
I like it. All right, moving on to the American. Paisley, I know you're usually against the service academies. I don't expect it to be any different here for you today. I'm assuming you'll take North Texas. Well, I'll start right off the bat and say I am on North Texas. Navy's going to North Texas. North Texas, 6.5-point favorite. Total 65.5. I think that's our largest total here that we're going to be covering in this one. Navy's undefeated though. They're 7-0. They're 5-0 in league. North Texas is, of course, 3-1, 7-1 overall. They've looked great, except for that one little asterisk when they played South Florida at home. I think it was like the first time they sold out their stadium, all the hype in the world. We were both on North Texas in that game, Paisley, and USF just stomped them. I don't think that's going to happen here, though. I think it'll be a little bit of a redemption. What are your thoughts on it? I'm tell me I'm right here. I'm assuming you're rolling with North Texas.
I'm on Navy. No, I'm kidding. You know where I'm going, Case. You know,
it's against the troops. Yeah,
you're joining me in hating the troops as well here this week, so I won't be getting all the flack, hopefully. But yeah, hate to do it again, but it just again seems to be a deja vu situation here with Navy. I know I shouted out a couple weeks ago, but looking really good. You know, good's an understatement, and you know now the schedule ramps up. A couple games just wanted to highlight on the Navy schedule that probably not a people were watching and stuff back when they were playing them a couple weeks ago, but they did play Rice, who's really down this year, only won by 8 points. They played Air Force in a shootout 31-34. They played Temple, which they were very, very fortunate. Should have lost that game outright. And then Florida Atlantic was really in that game and only lost by 10, but it was a lot closer than it looked. So had an easy schedule up to this point, Case, and they really haven't been like passing with flying colors like they were last year. I think this team is, you know, pretty good offensively. I like their quarterback, Horvath. He can throw the ball a little bit more than a triple option quarterback. The run game is dynamic. I think they're going to put up points here. I do like the over too. So I'll correlate that with the North Texas -6.5, which is crazy for a service academy. Don't love it for a lock because of that. Maybe they have a long drive in here. But North Texas has seen Army already this year. So I think that plays a factor. They saw Army. Army put up a ton of points on them, but North Texas did win the game outright. But I think they have a little familiarity with that. They've seen Navy a couple of years in a row now. I think they could slow it down enough. But just the side of the ball, Case, where I think it's going to be an absolute light show is going to be this North Texas offense against Navy's defense. Navy's defense is not good at all. They are very bad. The secondary is really troublesome. They have one guy that is kind of okay, and he might be out for this game. So if he's out, I was actually looking at North Texas team total. I think it was around 36, 37.5. I'll be playing that as well. So this might be a triple play here, like the North Texas team total, -6.5 over. I think North Texas does their job and scores a ton of points. I think they have a great day at home. The quarterback's playing a lot better. The USF game, like you said, I think, you know, just a bad, tough game, just didn't really play good, but they really have been looking pretty good in all the other games. So I think they really bounce back here. The offense has been rolling even in that USF game. I think they still put up 35 or 30, whatever it was. So it's not like they couldn't score at all. But I think they really have a field day here at home. So love them to score a ton of points. And I just don't think Navy could keep up if they get down this game. You know, they're a little bit better, more equipped now, these service academies, to throw a little bit more than they normally were accustomed to. But it's still not a recipe for success. They want to be up in this game. And I think even if North Texas somehow gets down, I think their passing game is so elite that they could just get right back into it. So I really do like this one a pretty good amount. So I'll give me the favorite, the over, and the team total. Maybe get a triple play winner here on this one.
I love it. This is one of the rare ones too. I really do love a total here. They're always difficult for me to judge because I think one thing's going to happen and then it's completely the opposite. But I'm all over the over in this one. I really am. I think to your point, North Texas offense outside of that, actually not even outside of, including the USF game, has looked good. I think the lowest they put up all year was 36 in that loss, or at least it was close. I think, Western Michigan, they put up 33, but every other game, 60 through 55, 54, 59, 51. Like this team, I mean, they can move the ball. And I don't think Navy's defense is any, elite, squad over there. I think they're good, but I just don't think they're, to the level to be able to slow them down. So I like the over. Also, I do like the cover here in North Texas. I'm surprised a little bit, Paisley. I know you're against the troops, but I did think maybe you'd go with Navy, just because they have a huge game next week against Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I thought maybe you'd, pick them here. They knock off North Texas, then they're ranked, and then there you go. Notre Dame's got a ranked win here this season. So I thought maybe you'd go with the troops in this one, but I'm not stunned. Not stunned you're going against them.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a nice little emotional hedge. So if Navy wins it
Yeah,
outright, it would help
there
us.
you go.
We do have the USC win case. Don't forget they're ranked.
Oh,
We're
that's
coming
true.
up on them in a little bit.
Forgot about Southern Cal.
Don't discredit that. But yeah, I think if North Texas, everyone kind of just watched that USF game in that standalone spot and thought, oh, okay, this team's not good. So I think you're right. If you look at those team totals, what they've been putting up, 50 plus, this is a really solid team. I think they just had one bad game. So I think they get back on track here. And I don't think Navy wins the game the rest of the season, honestly. I mean, they got North Texas, they got Notre Dame next week, they got South Florida and Memphis. And then they have the Army game, which is always a toss-up, a nice little bonus game there. So just really tough to land. I just don't think this Navy team's built for it this year.
Fair enough. That's very true. All right. Next game, SEC, back to the SEC. Georgia, number 5, Georgia, laying 7. They're taking on the Florida Gators. First time without Billy Napier here since he's been fired after the win against Mississippi State. So they had the bye week to prepare for this game. Neutral site, it's going to be in Jacksonville in this one. Georgia, Florida, a game that this was another one, not near as, like the Penn State Ohio State, but also preseason, a lot of hype around this. Remember, Florida was ranked like 15th in the country preseason. So I'd be interested to see what that summer line was. But now we're at -7, Georgia here laying. Florida showed some fight, though. They got the win over Texas. They've showed some signs of decent football. They've, looked good at times. They've also looked really bad at times, of course, with the home loss against South Florida that kind of set the tone for the season. So kind of an up and down team, but like all these other teams, they still have some talented guys on the roster. Maybe have the depth that Georgia has right now, but Florida still nonetheless never an easy win here, even though Georgia is number 5 in the country. So lane 7, Paisley, your thoughts on a neutral site here in Jacksonville?
Yeah, or at the top of the neutral site. I wish they played this at each other's stadium. I don't know why they don't do that or what the reasoning is behind that, but the biggest cocktail party, whatever they call it, I don't know if you're allowed to call that nowadays. But anyway, great matchup here. I think this one's going to be a little more exciting than people are thinking. I do like Florida in the matchup. Give me them +7. Took them +7.5. This one's been coming down, so definitely look at look at the market, see where it's going. But I kind of think this might. I don't know if it gets to 6.5, just because I think a lot of people will slam Georgia. So I think it's going to stick right at that 7 there. But if you like Florida, look to get that 7.5. If you like Georgia, take the 7 flat. Do kind of like the over in this game too. I didn't play it yet, but right under that key of 51. But I think both offenses might have some success here, which is a little scary with when you have DJ Lagway. But I think he's kind of playing a little bit better. He was kind of, I think, a little banged up. He didn't really get to practice a lot in the offseason. He looked really sharp in that Texas game. That was after their first bye. Then he looked, pretty good against Mississippi State. That was just a weird game. Obviously, with all the stuff going on with Billy Napier, even if he won or lost that game. So kind of throw that one out a little bit. Mississippi State's, I think, showing a little bit better than what people want to give them credit for, too. Yeah. And then just overall case, we've been talking about this on some of the recaps when we've been breaking down Georgia some of these weeks, just not fully impressed with them. And I don't know if it changes here. You look at that Tennessee game, easily could have been a loss. You look at that Auburn game with all those ref antics, and now the ref is suspended for the rest of the year. They win that game. Could have been a loss. That Ole Miss game, they were down double digits in the third, fourth quarter, came back and won. So I just think they're walking on a tight line here. It's just a really thin margin they're playing on. I wouldn't be shocked if Florida won the game outright, but I think they'll keep this one close enough to keep it within the number. I think it'll be a little bit back and forth. Georgia's offense has looked very good. It's kind of a different Georgia team than what we're accustomed to. Gunnar Stockton, I was kind of 50-50 on him after watching him in that Notre Dame game last year in the playoff, but he's been playing excellent. I think he's under the radar, and people aren't really talking about him, like the Heisman potential. I don't think he's at that level, but he's run the ball. He's playing really good. He's doing enough to win and kind of winning these ugly shootout type games back and forth. So he's kind of holding up his end of the bargain. They could run the ball really well. So that's a matchup I'm looking for. If Georgia, that's the way you have to stop them, is maybe lope the box, stop the run, force them to beat you through the air. I think they've just been playing with too much house money here, Case, and I think it's going to catch up to them at some point. I'm just looking at the rest of their schedule. They got Mississippi State. They have that big one with Texas. We'll see what Texas does this week, and then obviously now the big one at the end of the year against number 8 Georgia Tech. So I don't know, everyone's kind of penciling in Georgia. Definitely an at-large team. I wouldn't be shocked if they lose maybe 2 more games this season, which is pretty crazy to think. That Georgia Tech game is also a neutral site, which is crazy how Georgia and Alabama keep getting this lucky. They play at Georgia last year, and then it's neutral site in Atlanta, so it doesn't make much sense, but we'll get to that one later on in the year. But I do think Florida does enough here. They're coming off the bye, new coach bump. I think their offense will be able to move the ball on a not so great Georgia defense, and I think they keep this one within the 7.
Yeah, I think you're right. And once again, I don't like that we have some agreement here to kick off this podcast, but I like Florida. It's just that's a lot of points. They've showed a lot of fight this season. I don't think they're that bad. Lagway is playing at least, decent football, I think. I just can't quite understand this line either. Georgia could have 4 losses. I mean, you're right. Yeah, you just said it, but Tennessee, they were, could have lost that game in regulation, missed field goal. They lost to Alabama. Auburn, they could have been down 17-0 going into halftime. Not saying they, second half would have been much different, but still would have been a lot tougher for them to win that game. And then, of course, Ole Miss, and that took another comeback victory. So I know they're coming off the bye here, but at some point, it's got to catch up to them. Also, Florida, it's the old, fire your coach effect. How will they, rally? Maybe they'll have some motivation. It looked like there was a lot more excitement there after that, firing them. Maybe they'll rally and they'll put together, one of their best performances of the season. And just keep that in mind. Also, yeah, Georgia, they do play Mississippi State next week. So, and that's on the road. So I will say this, if, I'm wrong about this and Georgia wins, handily or easily, watch out next week to take Mississippi State with the points to see in that spot. So keep that in mind, a little bit of a look ahead there. Betting, which, don't always like to do, but keep that in mind. But yeah, nonetheless, basically, it's too many points. I agree with all the points you noted. Give me Florida +7.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the schedule. I was just saying Mississippi State's playing better. I think that's a great spot for them next week, like you're saying at home. I think a lot of people are starting to do like their projections or bracket. A lot of chaos still happens in November here. Now we're getting into November 1st. Like Georgia has a lot of landmines on their schedule. I think Vanderbilt still has a lot of landmines. We're not going to talk about Oregon. I think they're off this week. They still have a couple tough games on the road. So I think there's still a lot to play. So I wouldn't be comfortable penciling in, some of these teams in the 5 to 12 range. I still think there's a lot of chaos to be happening. Maybe it starts this week. So I hope so for my sake as an Notre Dame fan and as a college football fan. Just want to see some upsets and stuff, but I still think there's going to be a lot of chaos here. So I don't think anything's set in stone.
Basically, I would love to see some chaos, and that would include the number 1 team in the country possibly going down this week. So I'm also rooting for chaos here. Well, nothing is more chaos and chaotic than the Big 12, Paisley, and that's right where we're going here. Number 13, Texas Tech, laying 7 here, going to Kansas State. Kansas State has been a strange team all year. I was high on Kansas State in the preseason. If any listener listened to our week 0 preview or whatever, we did our surprise teams, disappointing teams, champions, all that crap. I was high on Kansas State. They came out, they looked terrible early in the season. They lost, remember, overseas. They lost to Arizona. They came back. That's when we also thought Arizona was really bad. Turns out Arizona's not so, that maybe as bad as we originally thought. But they're starting to string things together. They got the big win. They're against a rival last week against Kansas, which we were both on. So there's a double win there. And then on the other side, you got Texas Tech, who at one point a couple of weeks ago, everybody was kind of writing them as, the clear-cut Big 12 favorite now. Then they went out, lost on the road to Arizona State, which a lot of people did not predict. So now they're 4-1 in conference. And just like that, Kansas State right on their heels here at 3-2. This conference is wide open. Going to be the Wild West, I think. My initial thought is I think Kansas State has a fair shot in this game, but they're getting 7 here. So Vegas thinks otherwise. They're +7 at home, and the total is 52.5.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Wildcats again, Case. I was on them in the money line parlay last week. Easy cash, crushed Kansas on the road. Now they come back home. Like you said, I think this team just got second life. They got a second wind here. They're playing a lot better. They really are running the ball at a high level, so that's going to be a key in this game. If they could run the ball, I think they could be within this and maybe pull another upset here. If they don't, it's going to be a little tough sledding. But like you said, I think this Big 12, I was looking at the standings today and just now, it's so funny because BYU and Cincinnati are undefeated. So in Big 12 play. So Texas Tech really needs this game too. We kind of did like them after that Utah game, but like you said, I was kind of fading them against Arizona State. And then they haven't looked great after that. So I don't know. This is a team that, like we said, the Big 12 is just so open. There's a lot of solid teams. I don't know if there's an elite team. We thought it could be Texas Tech, but now some of these teams in the middle are starting to play a lot better, like BYU, got to shout them out, like Cincinnati, who's undefeated, Houston playing a little better, Utah coming back to life, Arizona State still struggling with some quarterback issues. I think Sims might play again this week, so don't bet them if that's the case. TCU, still another team that was down, but they have 2 losses, but they're still really talented and have a good quarterback. So I think there's still a lot of chaos still have to be played in November here for the Big 12 for sure. And I think it starts this week. I wasn't, it's tough because I do think Texas Tech, is solid. I think they're a good team. Wouldn't be surprised if they put one on here on Kansas State. So that's why I don't love this pick, but I do kind of like it. I think I'm going to play it myself. I don't know if it's going to make its way to the card, but anything over a touchdown, this was 8.5. Money's definitely been coming in on the Wildcats here. They get them back home. Like we said, I just don't think it's a great league, this in the SEC. Kind of similar where I like taking a lot of underdogs here. It's been kind of working. I might have to run the numbers on that, but I just think these teams are a little closer than what the perception is with all this. I think, and still with this quarterback uncertainty with Texas Tech, that's another big part. I think they played a 3rd string last week because the backup got injured too. I'd have to go back and check that. So I know Morton, he's been getting banged up every single game. So if he starts at quarterback, I don't know if he's going to finish. He's so injury prone in his career. He's been knocked out in a couple games. The back, he looks Texas Tech has, but I think it's just, I don't think they're really a team in the country. So it's going to be a fun one there at 3:30, but I like the Wildcats again. I've been kind of riding them a little bit here. Let's go with them one more time, +7.
Paisley, not going to be great. I am in agreement here. I like Kansas State.
I don't know what's going on. This is
too many points. This is 2 weeks in a row where there's a lot of agreement all around. And I mean, it's just like all your points you just said. I think Kansas State's playing. They're kind of getting to the point where they're playing their best football this season. They've looked good. Really, the last few weeks they put up 40 against TCU, who's a good team. They put up 42 last week against Kansas State. And then I think we were crowning Texas Tech a little bit too early. And this conference, I mean, there's 10 teams I think that could still make a run for it. I really do. And I'm not even just saying that. Like, I think the top 8 for sure, anybody with just 2 losses in the running. And even even Iowa State, like some of these teams aren't that bad. They'd have to win out, of course, but if one of them do win out, which I think a lot of these spreads are going to be within, 7 here on out, 4, 5, 6, or even tighter spreads. You got the top 2, BYU and Cincinnati, that are unbeaten in conference, but they have their hardest, tests ahead of them. So they got to play these 2 or 3 other top Big 12 teams. So anything could happen. And also, Paisley, Texas Tech only beat Oklahoma State 42-0 last week. Keep that in mind. Oklahoma State, you got to win that game by 70-0. So 42-0. I'm not totally sold there on that one.
It's true. And just looking up that box score too, that just to double check the quarterbacks, Morton didn't play. They started Hammond, the backup, then he got injured, and then Mitch Griffiths, which that name sounds familiar, as a 3rd string there. So I don't know how many quarterbacks they got at Texas Tech, but if you're playing Oklahoma State at home, you should probably roll them by at least 60, probably putting that out there. So, I think that's a fun little matchup there. I think that's a great game at 3:30 in my eyes. They'll get it on the main multi-view there with the Kansas State, Texas Tech. That's going to be a fun one.
Making the main feed. I love it. Kansas State, they're definitely, this is a big game for them though too. If they lose the game, they're probably out of the running for the Big 12. They really need it, but I'd love to see it. They were my preseason pick, so if we could get them to run the table after I wrote them off, we'd have to roll the tape back and clip that. I think I was totally dead on Kansas State. I may have said some extremely negative things about them and their program and their players. So maybe we'll keep that on the down low. I don't know, but Second Life, I agree. They're getting 7, Paisley. I really think they could win this game outright. So, keep that in mind. Should be a good one.
And last note on this, Texas Tech, we talk about look-aheads, BYU coming into their place next week. So perfect look-ahead spot for Kansas State too here.
Great catch there. All right, moving on. We got 3 more here, and then we'll get into our picks. And then, of course, the underdog parlay of the week. Back to the SEC. Feel like we're doing a lot of jumping around conferences. It's good, though, for a slate because you got a little bit of everything in the noon slate, 3:30 slate, now into the primetime games. Which also preseason was supposed to be a big game. Still actually is a big game. These are still top 20 ranked teams. Oklahoma, of course, had the loss last week against Ole Miss, but we got number 18, Oklahoma, going on the road to number 14, Tennessee. Tennessee laying 3. Both of these teams are in desperate need for a win here. If Oklahoma loses this game, they're really out of the running. They'd fall to 3 losses in conference. Tennessee, if they lose this game, they'd also drop to 3 losses in conference, so they really need it. Tennessee's at home. The spread is really tight, both these teams have kind of looked sloppy though in recent weeks and at times. Totals at 57.5. Paisley, this one at Tennessee, which we were there. Great atmosphere. I will expect that here under the lights too, of course, in Knoxville.
Yeah, I kind of love this pick case. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Orange here. I think they get it done. Might be a lock as well. Just previewing some of my locks. Maybe we'll see when it gets there. Got to see how these numbers shake out. But if it's 2.5, that's going to be a big time go. I don't mind it at 3 in this matchup. Just kind of love the trajectory that these that these two programs are going on, and why I'm fading Oklahoma here. I kind of called it a couple weeks ago, just wasn't a big Oklahoma fan. After that Texas loss, like we talked about, they rushed Mateer back a little too soon, and that Ole Miss game was that was embarrassing. Like, it looked a little closer on the scoreboard, but they got thoroughly dominated. We talked about Lane having some weird red zone and fourth down calls. They could have easily won that game by 3 scores. And Brett Venables said he thinks he still has the better team at the end of the day than Ole Miss. So I think he's losing his mind a little bit. So in Tennessee, I was watching that Kentucky game because I was on Kentucky, and that offense was clicking. Now, I know it's the Kentucky defense. They're okay. It's not a great defense or not a terrible defense, but I think Aguilar's really starting to find his rhythm in this offense. That Alabama game was just so frustrating because they were playing some okay ball leading up to that game, had some close calls, and then they just completely fell apart. That pick right before halftime really killed them. But I think that one was a little closer than the final score would have indicated. If they would have just not even punched it in, just got an incomplete pass, it only would have been a 6-point game or 7-point game at halftime. And they kind of got rolled in the second half there. So the only thing I am worried about this Tennessee team is their defense. But I just don't see a lot of this Oklahoma offense going on the road. I think Mateer's still banged up. He's missing guys by a wide margin. So if you can't really throw the ball, Oklahoma's not a great running team to begin with. They should have ran the ball a ton more on Ole Miss, and they still couldn't really get it going. They had that one big run, I think, for like 80 yards that looked good. But besides that, Ole Miss kind of kept them in check. So I think you're going to get a full-out max effort from the Tennessee defense here at home under the lights, like you said. Great atmosphere. So I think the defense gets a little bump there, and the offense is rolling. And this was some case that we talked about last week previewing the Ole Miss game. I think this Oklahoma defense is a little overrated. We talked about because they didn't really play a good team leading up to the Ole Miss was definitely going to be their biggest test. They put up 30 plus, could have been 40 plus at their own place in Norman there. So I think now you got to go on the road. You've just been exposed a little bit. Now you're going to have to play a red hot offense that's clicking right now at their place. I think this spells for disaster here. I could see Tennessee winning by double digits here. Might have to take an alternate line. That's how much I like it. But like we said before we hopped on here, every pick that I love or every pick that you love has not been going great this year. So slight disclaimer with that pick here. But I do love the Tennessee Volunteers here to get a big win at home. I think they smash Oklahoma here. Love this one.
Paisley, I have this notepad here. I have all my picks pre-logged already before. I have my last 2 here in agreement again. Tennessee.
And for the viewers, we do not talk about these picks before we hop on. So this is crazy.
No, it really is. I like Tennessee here, and it's really my main takeaway from Oklahoma is Mateer just isn't how he looked the first few weeks of the season. I don't know if he's banged up, which he is, but I don't know if that's the reason why he's playing so different or off, or if it's just that we gave him a little bit too much hype against weaker opponents here early in the season. But at home, Tennessee, I feel like they have a little bit more juice there. I know Oklahoma could technically make the playoff and they're not out of it, but they kind of just feel out of it, especially after last week and the lackluster performance. Whereas I think Tennessee still has everything in front of them. They're playing pretty good. Their offenses look great. Aguilar's look good. Their defense has not been that great. There are definitely question marks there, but I'm not really impressed with the Oklahoma offense. And in this situation, it's almost like a pick 'em for me. But I really heavily lean Tennessee, even on a neutral field. So just adding at home under the lights for them, this is an easy one. I really like Tennessee right off the bat. I'd love it if I could get it at 2.5, but even 3, whatever. I don't think I'm expecting them to steamroll them like maybe you do, but nonetheless, I'm definitely taking Tennessee -3. A lot of people haven't been talking about their quarterback, but Aguilar's looked very good at times, and he's having a good little bit of a showing here. So we'll see how he closes out the year. But at home under the lights, I expect some explosive plays, and I just think the Oklahoma offense might struggle here.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of people actually on Oklahoma, which maybe we're missing something. Got to look into that. So it might come down to 2.5 and maybe wait a little bit. And then before game time, it's still 3, I think that's solid. And just looking up there last second here, The team total, kind of like Tennessee over, it's at 28.5, 29. So I might be playing that as well. So it might be a little double action there.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Paisley. Hopefully, we have some disagreement on these final two, or I don't know. Then again, last week
I think we will on this one. Don't worry. I think we will.
we were
if I know where you're leaning.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to be disagreeing. Actually, now the way you said that. Number 23 USC laying 6 points, going on the road to Lincoln, Nebraska. Some people, Paisley, some experts around the college football world were predicting Nebraska as a possible playoff team. Many people thought they had that sort of potential here. Totals at 58.5. Under the lights in Lincoln, big game for them. Of course, they had a disappointing outing a week ago. They beat Northwestern last week, but then the week before they lost a tough one there against Minnesota during the week, which they looked absolutely abysmal in. But could they be bouncing back? Southern Cal, we talked about it on the recap episode, but there's still a fight for that fourth spot in the Big Ten. If one of these Big Ten teams could potentially win out, they could possibly be in the mix for the playoff. I don't know if that'll happen, but there's still that fight for the fourth spot between them, Michigan, Iowa in the mix. So here we go. USC at Nebraska. Paisley, I'm assuming you're taking the Trojans here.
I am taking the Trojans. I think this is one we could definitely disagree on.
Bad pick,
for our viewers. It is pretty scary that they're laying 6 on the road. And I'm not a big trends guy, but if you look up a lot of trends for USC traveling since they joined the Big Ten, it has not been good. They have not been good outside the state of California. But this is honestly a little buy on USC. I'm kind of buying the dip a little bit after that performance against Notre Dame, which that, they had some bad calls and some bad trickery plays. They tried to run some fourth down calls. But I think for most of it, and the weather definitely played a part. Shout out to the rain in that one that helped Notre Dame win that one. But I think conditions look okay here in Nebraska. We're going to get some clear skies, maybe a little cold. But I think the offense is going to show pretty well here against Nebraska. So it's a little buy on USC, a big sell in Nebraska. I hate to do it to your Cornhuskers case. I think this team is terrible. I do not think they're good at all. I think this team is scraping by some lower level teams. And I know USC is coming in. They don't play well on the road, but I think they thump them here if the offense gets rolling. If the offense struggles for USC, I think that's how they muck it up and get this a little bit closer. But I see USC winning this game by double digits here because I don't think Nebraska's defense is as good as it's been in years past. Northwestern put up 21 on them, and they got a little fortunate with 2 special team scores and I think it was a special team score and a pick 6 or something like that. And they scored 28, could have been 14-21. Minnesota, like we said, got dominated against that game. Maryland, who's definitely down this year, they were in a nail biter in that one. Michigan State, also down, as we know, played them a little bit tougher at home. So I don't know where they look good. And even the Cincinnati game, which is probably their best win up until this point, that was the first game of the year, and Cincinnati really didn't have their feet under them. So I just think this Nebraska team, I watched too many games for some reason. I think because we were on Minnesota. We were both on Northwestern last week, so I've been watching a lot of Nebraska football. This team just doesn't have it. I just don't think their run defense is good. I think USC is going to be able to run the ball, and then they could go multiple with their play action. I think Iowa is going to have a big game, so I also like the team total over here. A lot of team totals, as I'm noticing here. But I like USC minus a 6, like USC team total. I think they're going to score their fair share of points. And I think that defense is going to come around a little bit, more because, they've definitely been hearing the naysayers and stuff. But I think because Nebraska and Dylan Raiola just isn't it. I just don't think they have the juice. It's a very short passing game, not really explosive. They can't really run the ball, which is where you want to exploit USC, and that's why I think we both like Notre Dame last week or 2 weeks ago whenever they played, was because of that ground game, and that's how you attack USC. So I think the matchup just really favors USC here. I like them to get their first big road win in Big Ten country against a middling Nebraska team case. I just don't think they're any good.
Well, Paisley, that's fair. And I was against Nebraska, like you mentioned, when they played Minnesota, and I was against Nebraska when they played Northwestern. But Paisley, they're back home here. They're back home. Like you even mentioned, USC's been so bad on the road. I think Nebraska is going to come out. I think they're going to play their best football this weekend. I think it's going to happen. They're at home. They need this win. Matt Rule also still coaching for that Penn State job. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I don't think it will. That kind of lost some momentum, especially after that Minnesota performance. But I'm not like you. Look, you're selling Nebraska. I totally get it. They haven't looked good in a lot of games this year. Michigan State also, did not look good in that game. They should have won that game by a lot. But look, they have to win over Cincinnati. Like you said, they steamrolled Akron, Paisley. You're saying when they look good in that game. 68-0.
Everybody looked good against Akron. Everybody looks good against them.
No, but in all seriousness, I do like them in this spot. They're at home under the lights in Lincoln, one of the best fan bases you could have. Also, some teams don't come out great after a bye week, and I know that from watching Penn State over the last 10 years. I think it's going to be another example with USC. I think they have bigger and brighter hopes. I don't really think USC is going to trip up here, or their team. I mean, I don't think their team is really expecting a lot of. I don't think they're giving Nebraska the respect, Paisley, that maybe they deserve. I don't know. I lean Nebraska with the points +6. I don't know if I could take them on the money line this week, but at some point they're going to get a big win. They haven't beat a ranked opponent. I think I saw this week it was 26 ranked in a row they've lost, dating all the way back to like 2015 or something crazy. It was like 10 or 11 years. That's going to change this week, Paisley. Nebraska might get the win at some point. They got to get over it. I think it could be here. Give me Nebraska +6. Dylan Raiola going to have a break. At some point, they got to put it all together, Paisley. They have to. They were on their way against Northwestern, by the way. They were on their way, got some bad luck in the second half, which I was happy about. And Northwestern had a chance to win the game at the end. But give me
the I think Northwestern's just that good, so I don't know.
Western's not that bad.
And yeah, depending how this game goes, like if this gets ugly or they lose by double digits, like would Penn State even want Matt Rule after this? Like he is not looking good. Starting to hear that from some Penn State fans. Like I don't know if they want him. Like I don't know.
Nobody wants him. Nobody wants Matt Rule.
Like if he can't do it at Nebraska with this softest schedule and stuff, what is he going to do if he steps up now?
The thing about Matt Rule, and since we're on Nebraska, I'll say it quickly. He does that. Like, look, he's a football type of guy. Like, he's not a cheerleader. He's a different approach than like James Franklin. Like Matt Rule, I think is definitely more of like a hard nosed X's and O's, like almost like a John Gruden type of guy. Like that sort of style. He looked good at Baylor. He did, he built up Temple. He's got a lot of, he's got a lot of experience, which is maybe what Penn State wants if they don't want to hire one of these coordinators, which preferably I actually would. I'd go out and hire a 35-year-old coordinator for all I care. Somebody honestly, like what Notre Dame did with Marcus Freeman promoting him. You see, I'm not going to dive into all the examples now, but Matt Rule, I don't want him as a Penn State fan. I really would much prefer go a different route. Like you said, if they lose this game and Nebraska loses a couple more games, like at some point their fan base once again is going to be back in the the same spot they were with Scott Frost and all these other guys. Which they may even talk about moving on. I know that's kind of crazy, and he's still only, I think, in year 3 or maybe year 4 now there. But at some point, they're going to have to get over the hump, or I don't know. They're just going to have to keep recycling guys. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, I feel like they really should. Like they should be getting over the hump, but for some reason they're just not. So huge game for both programs too. USC really needs this one too because there's a lot of doubters and a lot of people on them. Yeah. So big game in the Big Ten for these two programs.
100%. All right, that's 7:30 on Saturday, and then Paisley to cap the primetime matchups off. College game day will be there. Number 17, Cincinnati. I'm excited for this one. The Big 12 is getting some national attention. 17th ranked Cincinnati going on the road to Utah. We just talked about a few minutes ago about how crazy the Big 12 is going to be. It starts right here with all the other games. Huge Big 12 implications. Both teams really need it. Nobody was really talking Cincinnati preseason. A lot of people were talking Utah, but not so much on Cincinnati. This is a crazy line, Paisley. -10. Utah -10 points against the 17th ranked Bearcats. Total 55.5. And this one kicking off a little later at 10:15. So that'll be nice. The 7:30 slate ends, and then you could tune right in. Cincinnati, Utah should be second half wrapping up pretty late there in the midnight, 1 a.m. on Halloween weekend. So should be a good one, Paisley. Your thoughts on this one, Cincinnati at Utah?
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really had a late night game because all these Big Ten games, or if they're West Coast, now they're on at 7:30. So this will be fun to have a big one at 10:15. You talk about Rice-Eccles, great stadium, especially at night, such an underrated home field advantage. But I just think the number is a little too high. I really have to check this one for injuries. I think everybody's okay on the Cincinnati side, but I can't believe it's up to 10. Now, it did start off 7.5, 8, so it has moved up. It didn't start at 10 here. But I think there's a little resistance now at 10. But I don't know if people are just really selling the Cincinnati team in general. Like you said, didn't have a lot of preseason expectations, definitely playing a lot better. No one's really watching Cincinnati football on a week in, week out basis. And Utah has looked really impressive just last week against Colorado. Shouted them out in my loser of the week. They had 400 yards to -20 at halftime against Colorado. I think that was more on Colorado and how terrible they are and what that program is spiraling down into. So I'm not taking huge stock from that game. And in that game, the backup did play. So I don't know if they were expecting the backup. Now I think Dampier maybe is going to play. They're very weird about their injury situation at quarterback going back to the Cam Rising days the last 2 years. So I think Dampier will play. Will he be 100%? I don't know. And I think that's why maybe this line is moving up 2 or 3 points. But if he plays or if he doesn't, I like Cincinnati in this one to keep it close. I'll take them +10. I think Cincinnati is a very underrated team. I've been watching a lot of them the last couple of weeks for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I did have Baylor and the over in that game last week, and they won 41-20. Baylor bowed back a little bit, but Cincinnati really dominated them. And Baylor's a solid team. They dominated Iowa State, solid team. You know, it's like these are not like jokes of the Big 12, and they physically and completely outplayed them these last couple of weeks. They beat Kansas on the road. Like we said, they had that stumble of first week against Nebraska, and they kind of outplayed Nebraska in that game. So it's a huge test for Cincinnati now going on the road. I love their quarterback. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a really good dual threat guy. He could really run it. He could throw it well. So I think their offense will move the ball here. So Utah's defense has been playing pretty good. The only area of concern is the Cincinnati defense against the Utah ground attack. Utah, I don't know if I'm comfortable laying 10 if I'm taking Utah because they can't really throw the ball or haven't shown that. The backup, I mean, I know it's Colorado, but he actually looked really comfortable and he was hitting some big chunk plays down the field. So I kind of like him as a throw a little more than Dampier. So I don't know. I'm just not a big Utah guy this year. I really sold them after that Texas Tech loss, and they had some nice wins against some really mediocre competition in West Virginia and Colorado last week. So I'm just not buying it. I think this line should be a little bit closer, so I'll gladly take the 10 here at the nightcap spot.
Yeah, I mean this one's kind of. I don't think it'd be stunning that we agree on this one. That's too many points. Cincinnati, I think, is a pretty good football team. And while you were talking, I kind of just looked it up. They apparently their star or their running back it looks like might be out. Pryor, who's their leading rusher, so that could be impacting it. But even the article I just read. It highlighted, like you just said, their dual threat quarterback, that Sorsby guy, who's really good, and they got another running back also that's in the rotation, so it's like a running back by committee. So even with that being said, I don't think that's enough to sway the line that many points, even if he is out. So yeah, I think Cincinnati's getting a little bit disrespected here. Now, the last time I thought a team was getting disrespected, Paisley, roll back the tape 7 days ago, I thought Illinois was. They went out to Washington. They got their absolute doors blown off. So I take full responsibility there. But I really like Cincinnati here. I think they could win the game. I think 10 points is just too much, even with some of those injuries that, I just kind of looked over. I think Utah's a really good team. But, man, that's a lot, and it makes me think that maybe Vegas does know something. Maybe Utah does run away with this game. That's kind of what that line's hinting at, that, could be a Utah by a lot, especially because, sometimes the market is just swayed by that number next to teams. And, a lot of people could be coming in betting Cincinnati here if you're not an experienced sports bettor. Sometimes Vegas does that. So could Utah run away with it? Possibly. I don't really see it yet. If this line moves too crazy, I may just stay away completely, because sometimes that does happen on Saturday. And I'm like, I don't feel good about this. And, it could be a lopsided game, but I really don't see it unless something changes over the next, 72 hours. I agree. Cincinnati +10. That's definitely my pick.
Yeah, and I knew I was missing 2 games. That Arizona State game where they played when Levitt got out. Remember that line went up like 7 or 8 points. They won 42-10. Like, so, you could just look on the surface and be like, oh, Utah's blowing these teams out. But if you really dig in, it's like, I don't know, it's a lot different. And they obviously have that BYU loss just 2 weeks ago. So I don't know, just not buying it. I don't know what's going on, but you're right. Sometimes you think like that, and that's why Vegas makes money. So nothing's guaranteed. Probably have a reason for it, but very intrigued for this matchup here. I think it's going to be a little closer.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so we're both rolling with the Bearcats. A lot of agreement, everybody. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Last week it worked in our favor. We had a couple that were wrong, but for the most part, we both were above 500. We got the page back up to 50%. So, and of course, we have the great underdog parlay of the week coming up here after our picks, which is plus 12 units this season, Paisley. That's it's pretty great, a pretty great number to be at. But anyway, moving on, we're going to go through our picks here. And then we'll do the underdog. So, Paisley, what is one of your initial picks that you're going to be riding with this week?
Yeah, we're going to go with another service academy here playing against another service academy. We're going to go Air Force at home. Just take them on the money line, kind of a pick them right now against Army. You got Army traveling out to Colorado Springs there to play. Air Force has been a fun team this year. They've been scoring a ton of points. They're not really like your prototypical triple option team. They could throw the ball really well. Their passing numbers are the best it's been in maybe history this year in the program. So I think they're going to do their fair share of passing. They're kind of hard to prepare for now, even though Army has seen them a lot, obviously. But I think that will help Air Force on their defensive side where they have been struggling. I think they know the triple option. They know how to defend it. So I think it's a tale of, I think one team is just going to get a little bump on the defensive side, and then the other team is going to struggle going up against this triple option hybrid type attack. So I kind of like Air Force here at home to get a nice win here. I think their defense will play well. I think the offense will keep rolling. So give me the Air Force money line. I think it's right around -115.
I like it. And if any teams know how to stop the triple option, basically, it should be one of these service academies. So it's always fun when the service academy teams play each other too. So I like it. Air Force money line is the play. Paisley, I'm going to go over to the SEC here in this one. My good friend, my good pal down there in Mississippi, Lane Kiffin, Lane, 12.5 points here against South Carolina. This game is in Ole Miss in Oxford under the lights. And look, this is kind of a spot play situation for me. I was on South Carolina a week ago against Alabama. They almost pulled off the upset. They really should have at the end of this game. But now South Carolina's got to turn around, quick, 7-day sprint. Now they got to go on the road to Mississippi. Ole Miss, I feel like, is playing some of their best football now. They got the big win a week ago. And now they have South Carolina coming in, who hasn't won a game since late September. I just think Ole Miss might steamroll them here. I think Ole Miss is going to try to, at least. I think at home they're going to at least attempt to. And I think by the second half they could put up a lot of points on the South Carolina defense. So laying 12.5, I know it's kind of a lot of points, and it makes me a little hesitant, but I just think Ole Miss could really win this game by multiple touchdowns. I think 14 or more. So give me them minus the 12.5.
No shocker case here, but I do like that pick as well. I think that was South Carolina's Super Bowl last week, and just to come up that short when they had it in their grasp, I think their season's done. I think they get rolled here too. Next pick for me, Friday night pick here. I'm going to go Rice plus 14. This was 14.5, so coming down a little bit at home against Memphis. America's team right now, Memphis with that big win at USF or at home against USF last week. So now that was a huge game. We talk about spot plays all the time. Case, this will be my spot play of the week here. Now you got to go on a shorter week after that huge win to a sleepy Rice Stadium that's probably going to have a couple hundred people in the stands, probably in a colder, Texas night there down there in Rice. I think they keep this one to the number. They like to grind it down. They're a big run, weird kind of triple option, hybrid type, not a full triple option team, but really run heavy. I just think it's a bad spot for Memphis here. I'd be scared that they're not going to get off the mat here. So I think 14 is a little too much to give me Rice to keep within the number here.
Yeah, coming off the big win, like you said, another during the week game. So keep your eyes open on that one. Rice plus 14. I always like taking these during the week games sometimes with the underdogs. It seems to cash out a lot. Not always, as we saw last night with James Madison putting the throttle on against Texas State. But no, it's a good spot play there with Rice. My second pick here, I'm going to go the ACC, Wake Forest plus 10. They're going on the road at Florida State. Look, Florida State has looked awful since that week 1 win against Alabama. They have showed really nothing. They've had a lot of losses, 4 in a row ever since that double overtime loss against UVA. Wake's kind of the opposite, where they're playing some decent football. They were supposed to be really bad coming into the season. They've defied expectations. They're not a great team, but they're 5-2. They're 2-2 in ACC play. They got to travel on the road here, but I just think I'm selling Florida State. This is more a sell on Florida State than I am Wake. That's a lot of points, plus 10. Coming off a big win against SMU, even though they tried every way possible to lose that game. They hung on, won the game. So give me Wake Forest with 10 points.
Yeah, wish I could join their case, but I think I used up all my luck on Wake Forest after that last game against SMU, so I'm just staying away from them. I think we used up all of our luck there, but I will cheer along for you in that one.
Appreciate
against Florida State. My next one, Case, I think we're going to go to the midnight game on the island. I'm pretty sure it's in Hawaii. I have to double check it, but it's Hawaii, San Jose State. And we're going to go over another favorite pick here. Or actually, it's not in Hawaii. It's in San Jose State. But anyway, still like the over here, 57.5. short travel for Hawaii, just coming to California. But I think these offenses are a little under the radar. I was surprised this number was in the high 50s. I thought it'd be in the low 60s. So I think you're getting a little bit of value there. Hawaii's finding something on offense. San Jose runs a very pass-heavy offense, too. It's a spread and shred, they call, which I think is an awesome name for an offense. So I think they're going to be able to throw the ball around. Hawaii, their quarterback's playing really well, a talented five-star freshman. So I think there's going to be a little more points than people are expecting out here. Not a lot of defense in this one. I think it's a super late 11:30 kick or 11 p.m. So if you need something to bail you out, take the over in the Hawaii game. Nothing better.
Paisley, I love it. I got my Rainbow Warrior hat on. I almost picked Hawaii. Hey, 3-hour flight, easy for them. They're used to it. They got to travel over the Pacific to get to their island quite often. So that should be, accustomed to that. I'm not too worried about that being on the road, but I love it. Always rooting for points in the Hawaii game. So that'll be a fun one on late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, hopefully. Great pick there. All right, my third and final. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie, this week it was not easy coming up with these preliminary picks, but this one kind of snuck around. I thought about it, I decided not to, and then I decided to do it anyway. Go with Duke plus 2.5 points against Clemson. Clemson's been a huge disappointment. I was worried they might put stuff together and finish the season 9-3, but thankfully they lost to SMU. That completely died. And I know we've said it before. I think Duke is the worst, best team in the country. I think Duke is, of the good teams, I think they're just so bad at it. They've made a lot of mistakes. They're very sloppy. They try to lose games similar to like Wake Forest a week ago. But I think at some point, just like to roll the tape back to Nebraska, Paisley, at some point, they're going to put it all together. And who else would it be better than put it on a team that just beat you to death, the last 10 and 15 years and dominated the conference? Duke's going to come up for this game, just like Nebraska. Duke's going to play their best game this Saturday, and I think they're going to beat Clemson. I'll take them with the 2.5, but I think they could win this game outright.
I actually do like that one too, Kay. So this one was at 3.5, maybe 4, shot down just today on a Wednesday as we're recording here. So down to 2.5. Klubnik, I don't think played last game against SMU, or I don't know if they had another game in between there. So I don't know if there's still some injuries going on there. But yeah, I just think Duke's ripe right now. I think this is the perfect time, like you said, to beat down on a beaten down Clemson team. So I'll take them plus the points as well. Love that one. And to round us out here in the preliminary picks, I'm going to go Minnesota -3 against Michigan State. Minnesota at home. I think Michigan State coming off of that big Michigan game, they gave a lot of energy. They were at home, came up really short, got the backdoor cover for us, thankfully, like we talked about last week. But this team just isn't good. They just don't have it. Their defense is really bad. I think it's a good matchup for Minnesota. They need to play teams with bad defenses to help their offense that's a little struggling. And then they could really clamp down on their defensive side of the ball. They always have good defenses there in Minnesota. They just got embarrassed at Iowa. 38-0 or 36-0. So I think they're going to want to come back home, play a way lesser opponent. And they've been really well at home this year, Minnesota. Like we said in that Nebraska game Friday night a couple weeks ago, they've been pretty bad on the road. So this will be a spot I'm looking to back Nebraska here at home. -3. I think they get it done here and maybe win by double digits.
Double-digit play. Could maybe buy some alternate spreads there, get some plus odds there.
Oh, yeah. Look at it.
PJ Fleck, Golden Gophers there. I love it. All right, well, that rounds out our preliminary picks here on this Wednesday. Now, Paisley, the moment that everybody and every viewer has been waiting for, possibly skipped the entire episode just to this timestamp here. The underdog parlay of the week. Paisley, I'll kick you off here. I'll let you go first. We were plus 12 units if you've taken this straight, by the way. I'm not endorsing taking them all straight because, of course, this is the underdog parlay of the week and we want to win them both. But I would just bet them separately also.
Yeah, no, big shout out to my family members. They love this parlay. I've been getting some hate mail through from them. So hopefully we cash this week and we have to check our inboxes and see a lot of angry letters there, Case, in the mailbag. So a lot of pressure now going each week. But like you said, plus 12 units if you take them individually. So that's an awesome stat right there. So for my underdog piece, Case, I'm going to go the Delaware Blue Hens right down below us here in Pennsylvania. They're going to travel to Liberty in Virginia. Short underdog +3. It was 3.5 coming down to 3, maybe 2.5 before Saturday. So I think the money's on the right side here with the Blue Hens, who've been playing some good football. This is another team that's stepping up. first year in Division I, and they've been looking pretty good. They've been very good this year. Run the football. Offense has been electric. The defense has been okay, but I think they're going up against a Liberty team that is really bad offensively, so I think it sets up well for them, and just okay defensively. Liberty had very high expectations, and they are not even close to that. So I think Delaware's just a better team, Case. I think they're the better team here going on the road. So give me the Blue Hens plus 136 for my piece in the underdog parlay.
I like that pick, Paisley. I've been anti-Liberty ever since they were 13-0 that one year and got absolutely blown out by Auburn in the bowl game there. I've never been a big fan of them. Great pick there. My underdog parlay of the week at plus 164. I said it off camera beforehand, Paisley. This might be my single most confident pick I've had this season. I love Cal to get the win over Virginia, UVA, for multiple reasons. UVA's got to travel all the way cross country to Cal in the ACC, which is still crazy, but they have to. UVA survived a week ago against North Carolina in overtime. They almost lost to a horrible Washington State team. There's probably no Washington State fan listening. They're terrible. Louisville, they won in overtime. Florida State, double overtime. Stanford, they look good against Stanford, 48-20. I'll give them that. Love Cal outright. They're going to fall at some point, UVA. Cal's not playing bad either. They had a tough one back on the East Coast, actually, a week ago at VT. Almost beat them, double overtime. They're not great, but they're good enough. They're home. I'm selling UVA. Cal's going to get it done outright at plus 164.
Love this one, Case. I was going off on Virginia in the recap pod just a couple days ago. I think they're so fraudulent. They are a very, very fraudulent team. And I forgot about this. I think you mentioned it the first couple of weeks. That North Carolina State loss was a out-of-conference game, so they're technically undefeated in the ACC play.
That's right, yeah.
I thought they had the one loss, which is the craziest thing, and it actually might come back to help them tremendously because they're in the driver's seat for the ACC championship game. But I'm with you. I did play Cal plus 4.5. Might have to sprinkle a little money line there. I think it's just a tough travel spot for Virginia, who's been getting so lucky and should have 4 losses. Let's see if the magic runs out. I think it does. Cal comes back home. I think they have a good showing here. So if you parlay them together, plus 523 this week, so a little bit over 500. Nice value from the parlay this week.
Love it. A lot of cash could be made. That will do it for the PB Betting College Football Podcast, number 20 of the season. We'll be back Sunday night recapping the week. Everybody have a great week tailgating or watching games at your apartment, whatever you're doing. Have a couple beers, and we'll see you guys on Sunday night.